Hold on, are you doing
I
a
gotta say.
recording?
Yeah.
I didn't have anything recording.
Oh, see, I thought you were still recording, so.
No! I was like,
all
oh,
right.
Cody's gonna get into this.
Okay.
You know what that flaw is? That's jumping the gun, folks.
I know.
All right.
All right.
Get back into that serious mindset. You good
Yeah.
to run.
I don't know, guys. I've been thinking about things, and maybe we're just not all that we thought we were cracked up to be. Maybe we're not as good heroes as we portray ourselves to be. I mean, I look around and I see. There's some bad traits here. We got some bad traits. There was that whole thing in the tavern. There was that thing with the trolls. I'm not even going to talk about what happened under the bridge.
But you gotta pay the toll.
But I know. But I will say this. Our flaws do make us interesting. They set us apart. We're not your typical adventurers.
I mean, this all just sounds like a you problem, man. I don't know what to say.
See, that's your flaws, that you just can't. You have no introspection.
No.
And you just project your flaws onto other people.
I think my flaw is that I try too hard, and I get too much done.
Enough.
Just a fuck more.
Yeah. What are we talking about today, folks?
We're talking about flaws.
Flaws, baby.
Yep. So this is the Tabletop Totality boys over here at the Bone Pony Ranch, and today we're talking about character flaws for your Dungeons and Dragons or your role playing game, or just even for story writing, just for developing a character that's not a cookie cutter character. You want to break the mold a little bit, want to get a little interesting. Mm-hmm. But before we dive into that, I think we should. Yeah, I think we should mention that we have 9 free adventures on DriveThruRPG.
Hell yeah!
Just search for Tabletop Totality. The link will be in the
description below.
The doobly-doo. Come on.
I told you I'm not going to be a part about any of this stuff.
Yes. See, that's your character.
That is a flaw.
Taking concepts from others. The description below is where you'll find the link to our DriveThruRPG as well as our Patreon, where you can just sign up for as little as $1 a month to help support our goings on and the things that we create, and you'll get some cool content there.
$1 a month and Steve can eat. That's it.
Lord knows I need it. I'm all spilling those over here.
The cool thing is that after this month, we're going to start releasing some not free adventures. And if you are on our Patreon, if you're one of our patrons, you would get that adventure regardless.
Yeah.
So that is cool.
So it is pretty neat.
Plus, we always have our Kurgan merch. I see you boys are wearing.
Kurgan! The Kurgan drip.
Got that Runekeeper swag.
Yeah. No, it's a good time.
And of course, you can find links to all these things both in the description, but you can also find them at tabletoptotality.com, which is our website, where you can find all of our free content, as well as the links to everything that you could possibly need for your Tabletop Totality needs.
Yeah. It's a vast, vast ocean of information.
It is, and we have been making a lot of monsters and creatures and adventures and magic items and spells and things like that, because we're planning on publishing an adventure book, come this fall. Yeah. So be on the lookout for that. It's going to be our Adventures in Thistledown.
Yep.
Which is also 4 of those missions are available on DriveThruRPG. The first 4 in the Thistledown setting, and we think that probably the module is going to end up with somewhere around 10 or 12 adventures.
Yeah.
By publication.
Yeah.
So It's going to be full to the brim with original magic items, creatures, maps, traps, and more.
Setting, everything is created by us, made by us. But enough about us, because we could talk here for days.
That is also a flaw.
Yeah,
we could just be self-centered and just talk about
just
ourselves.
a little bit.
Shamelessly plug.
Non-stop.
Oh, of course you got.
And also mispronouncing words.
Yeah. How else do you go about living if you don't mispronounce things?
Yeah, gotta give Cody something to edit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, I would like to start this bad boy off by saying that I have read a lot of books. I've watched a lot of movies. I'm a fan of stories. I like to write. Yeah, I like to write stories, and I really kind of detest the perfectly goody two shoe character. I think that as far as humans are concerned, no one of us is perfect. So for me, when somebody is just flawless in everything they do, that really kind of kills the development, I think, of that character for me, because there's nothing for them to gain, there's nothing for them to accomplish, there's no catharsis for anything that they have to get past. There's just nothing. um and I really think that is in a RP setting, you kind of have shot yourself in the foot if your character is just going to be the best at everything. That's one of the reasons why I never understood when people were like, "Yep, starting out, my character's going to have all 18s and all of my abilities." And it's like, you're level 1, you're just above a commoner.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be this incredible hero at that stage. There's no development.
I mean, all 18s is one thing, but not having flaws is completely is a whole other beast. In that you can have a person who is like incredibly intelligent and incredibly strong and incredibly dexterous and charming and all these things, but then to say but they have no problems as well is like, again, at level 1, you're shooting yourself in the foot, because it's like, okay, well, if they don't have any problems, if they don't have any issues going on with them, then what reason do they have? They're already perfect. What reason do they have to go on an adventure?
Well, not even that. You get somebody who's naturally gifted like that. You don't think they think they're better than somebody else, or you know what I mean? It just doesn't make any sense. They'd be naturally gifted, so either they would, because they're naturally gifted, people would hate them for reasons they wouldn't understand. There'd be something there, or they would think they're just naturally better than everybody, and maybe not on purpose, but showboat it. You know what I mean?
For sure.
So,
or go up against things that they can't handle because they think they can handle anything.
Exactly.
This dragon is terrorizing us. Okay, I'll go kick its ass. Okay, you're level 1. Go for it. Like, if you want to try, go for it, man. But yeah.
And like, I think we should clarify too that when we say like flaws, I mean, a flaw can be anything. A flaw could be just a chip on your shoulder. It can be too much pride. It could be you could have taken a physical injury that has stopped you from doing something, or prevents you from doing something further. There's a lot of things that you can call flaws, and I think a lot of games don't play up to it. Like they could. One of my favorites is the D6 Lord of the Rings, where basically for every 2 flaws you took, you got to take a feat. And that was an encouragement for you to make a character that wasn't all perfect, and it allowed you to make a more interesting character right from the get-go. And so I think that's important. And so when we're talking about flaws, like, it can really be anything. You could be greedy, you could be selfish, you could be selfless. We recently just wrote a story about somebody who believes they're the hero, and they believe that they are going to save their whole order, and they end up being the ruination of that order. But they're so headstrong and they're so convinced in their belief that they are doing the right thing, And they went from being a good character to being an evil character.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think it's definitely an aspect that a lot of people miss, and you get it sometimes if you're playing with like people who like to min max a lot. They'll min max, but they don't play to that flaw that they have, right? So they don't play to what's lesser. They just constantly play to whatever they're maxed in, and that's it. Like even if you're doing min max, no matter how you're building your character sheet, no matter what you think is the right way, because everybody's got their own opinions, it allows for a more dynamic character, and that's just baseline. You add in, hey, this person's greedy, they're gonna just take money from the group, like your basic rogue. It's gonna pocket money if nobody's looking. That's a flaw, baseline. And what that's gonna do is as soon as somebody on the party interacts with them or sees them doing that, you're gonna allow that party to move in a different direction, just socially. You know what I mean? Like now you're gonna have either inner flaws within that, which adds for way more interesting gameplay than if everybody was just like, yeah, we just split the money. Yeah, we go over here. It's the right thing to do. We'll help these guys.
Yeah, we're just gonna camp and we're not gonna do anything, and then we're just gonna go to the dungeon, and then we're gonna go through the dungeon.
Oh, this guy's offering me crazy power. Oh, I'm not gonna take it. It's okay. Like, it's one of those things where, nah, like, what would your character? Yeah, you may know how this plays out, but like we were just talking about, here, this person's on this holy quest, they believe, and they're blinded by everything else. You may know as the player, yeah, this isn't adding up, but would that character know? And that's that flaw background, and
and that character fully even upon being separated from their divine power, still believe that this was a test.
It's just more of a test. The gods are really testing me. They don't want any of their power to help me to see if I can do this test, to see if I'm worthy.
Right, they're trying to break me. Yeah. And I'm not going to break,
It allows for, like, I don't know, just as a role play type of person, love it in my adventures. I think that's what makes all these tabletop games, no matter how good a combat system is. I think the role play of it, that RP is what's going to make or break the system. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter how great a system is if you have people who aren't going to role play together. It's gonna, whatever. It's a good time. Thanks for showing it to me. But the only good way to have that role play is, well, because of a betrayal, now my character doesn't have good trust in the party. So no matter what, he's going to trust his own gut. Right there, boom. That's gonna make decisions that the party has to make that much more difficult. Because either, everybody goes, yeah, no, that's a good decision and sides with them, or they go, no, that's the wrong decision and my character's gonna do it anyway. Because, you can't trust anybody. So I think without those flaws, even if it's something that happened, it makes great things. But then on the other side, when we're talking about, because you had mentioned, the mathematics side of things, if your character has all 18s, they're not flawed and they can do whatever they want, you know what I mean? I think it's great when you have a freaking 10 or an 8, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even, you got a -2 in charisma. What are you going to do? You could play that so many different ways.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I think that the stats, like we were saying, like the stats and the flaws might not be absolutely like hand in hand, but in a certain way, like they all, like what I was trying to get at is that if you're the best at everything from the get go, like what progression can you have?
Yeah.
And it's the same thing if you're a flawless character. If you have nothing, you have nothing that is wrong. There's nothing that sets you apart. Like what's the point of that character,
Like you can even like use your stats to kind of develop your flaws. Like I have a character who their lowest stat is intelligence. Mm-hmm. And the flaw that I have written on that character sheet is that they think that they're smarter than everybody because they're so dumb that they're just like, no, but they're so dumb that they don't realize that they're wrong. But they're like, no, I can outsmart anybody because I'm just so
they just don't
cool.
understand my intelligence.
Exactly. And it's just like, like that's their flaw. And it's like you can use your stats in that way to sort of develop a flaw for your character. Like if your character has like a low strength or something, it's like maybe they did something really cool once that made them think that they're stronger than they are, and so they try to do things that are out of their league, or you know, maybe they were really charming one time, even though they have a charisma score of like a 10, and so they're like, I'm the coolest dude. I'm gonna keep using that one-liner over and over again because it worked when I was like.
They call me 12. Senior Suave.
It worked when I was 12 because
finger guns.
I used a slide on a lady when I was 12, and she thought it was cute. But I thought that it was like, yeah, this will work on anybody. So I'm just going to use it until it works again. And it's like, there's a flaw for you.
That line always works.
How did you overcome my suaveness?
But even when you go into the when you go into the mathematics side of things, you know, and you have a flaw that maybe you have a -2 somewhere, it doesn't need to be debilitating to your character. Like, as I said, you maybe have a -2 in charisma, you know, the modifier. That doesn't mean you don't know how to frickin' talk. You could know perfectly how to talk, but everything you say just comes off wrong. I think one of the
you could be super rude.
That's what I mean. Like that's all that has to mean is you just don't have a connection.
You understand, you understand the language, you understand what you're saying, and you don't think there's any problem with how you're saying something, but you're being an asshole, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think one of the best, one of my favorite characters that I've ever encountered actually comes from the Nintendo 64 game, called Aiden Chronicles. And
for you kids, that's a Nintendo 64. That was
you had to blow the cartridge, put it in, turn it on, and then possibly turn it back off. And you know,
for you kids, a cartridge is technology.
It's ancient technology. You can only fit like a 10th of a game nowadays onto these cartridges. But anyway, the character was just, I would consider it a character who had very low charisma, but he was a very intelligent man. His name was Godric, and he was the alchemist. But he would just say random shit. Like, you know, like you're asking him to join you, and he goes, can I take this bottle of green goo that I just crafted? And you're like, why are you asking me? Like, you're just like, this is such a weird train of line after I'm like, hey, what are you good at? And you're answering that, and then you're like, oh, can you come with me? And you're like, yeah, if I could take this green goop. And you're just like, maybe leave the goop. And he's like, all right, sure. And he's out. You know what I mean? Like, he's still fine with it.
Here's your goop.
But I think it's like, and then even like any of the social interactions afterwards, I think it made the story so much better. You know, not everybody is this same old bland, here we're talking. No, this guy just says, he's just some random old guy who's all about alchemy and crafting of potions and everything like that, and a wizard, and he just says some random off the wall shit sometimes, and it is absolutely amazing. Why not bring that to your characters in tabletop playing, you know, in a tabletop setting? Like, it's no different. Have that dynamic.
Well, that's I mean, that's one of the things that, you know, I enjoy about our friend Justinian Knight when he plays Noxus is his elf character, and Noxus is like, I'm the best at everything.
Yep.
And that's what he thinks, and that's how he talks. And he's just like, you're all beneath me, I'm the best at everything.
Yep.
And, you know, I think sometimes people could be like, wow, this guy's being a dick, you know, like he's just being so rude at the table, but it's like, he's playing his character. That's not Justin.
Yeah.
You know, that's his character.
Yeah, and don't feel like your character is going to portray you. Maybe have that talk in your session 0 with all your players. But you know, understand the difference. Like, if this person's an asshole for certain reasons, like, be like, yeah, the reason why this is because of this event, and that's my character. And then everybody's like, oh, all right.
Yeah.
And it doesn't, you know, some people were like, oh, like the immersion and all this shit. But you can take a side. You can go to the side for a second and say, hey, it's not that my guy can't talk or that he doesn't understand, but he's lived in the woods for so long, he hasn't spoken to anybody in 10 years.
Yeah.
So when you guys are all questioning him, it's overload for him. And he's just like, I can't handle this. So he behaves differently. And it doesn't hurt for you to do that. And I think maybe sometimes people avoid playing the more difficult characters because they're afraid maybe that they're going to upset the table or upset the balance by doing something that's, I'm just here for the adventure, And one of the things I really enjoy about at our Curse of Strahd game, my wizard and our other friend Sean, too many Seans.
So many Seans. Too many Seans on
the G Nation. Yeah. He plays a barbarian, a berserker barbarian dwarf, and I'm a hobgoblin wizard. And our intelligences couldn't be farther apart. Like I have a 20. I think he's like negative in his intelligence or whatever.
Oh, he sure acts.
And and we both have really poor charisma because we're both rude. We both say whatever comes to mind, and because of that, we're always on each other's asses. We're always being mean to each other. But then when shit hits the fan and we're in combat, we're like, hey, you don't talk to my friend like that.
Yeah.
Only
I can talk to my friend like that.
Right. And it's been fun to do that because it's like, I'm not taking pot shots at Sean. He's not taking them at me, but our characters are sitting there like, oh my God, what a dullard.
Yeah.
Like, why do I have this creature with me?
Yeah. And if you have a group that's cool like that, then that's a good way to play. If you're a first-time player and you're a first-time group and you don't really know each other, maybe don't make your flaw as pronounced as that. Maybe, because people might not understand that that's like you playing your character or whatever, and they might get offended by it. But like don't like play up your flaw to the point where it's like offending people or harming the game or whatever. You know, if the party if the party is collecting a bunch of gold from a dragon or whatever, and your character in the middle of the night just steals it all and takes it and runs off into the night with all their equipment and stuff to sell it. And, the party goes, why the hell would you do that? And it's like, oh, well, that's just my character's flaws, that he's just greedy. Whoops. Whoops, I stole all your shit. It's like, that's not fun.
That's a good way to get your character killed.
Yeah, that's a good way to get your character killed or have to roll a new character and lose everything anyway.
Or you're out of the group,
Yeah, exactly. So there are ways of taking flaws like that too far, but like if you're able to,
and that's...
Just make, as long as you're like as long as the whole group is having fun, that's fine. But if you're turning it into look at how bad and weird my character is, and then just like being like, well, no, I'm not being bad. That's just the way my character would do things. It's like, don't come on, come on. You're being antagonistic and blaming it on your character. Like that's not a good. That's not a good look.
And to follow up on that, like we've experienced people that have taken those things way too far or have gone to the point of like doing things in game that have really made people uncomfortable outside of the game because they're like, oh, well, my character is so evil that I'm going to do this terrible thing like to the other player or to this NPC.
Yep.
And not everybody's cool with that. And certainly, like, we've never wanted to be like that. It's like, there's enough evil in the world that you don't need to be like propagating it at your table. You can have fun and you can still fight villains and monsters without making people go home and like regret being at your table or hanging out with you.
Yeah.
Because you've made them uncomfortable or you've brought up things that have, that are inappropriate.
Yeah.
So there's certainly a level of taking flaws too far.
Yeah. Even just being a dick, even just being too much of a dick all the time, and then just being like, oh no, that's just how my character is. It's like, no, it's you projecting your attitude into a character and just being a dick, and then saying, no, it's not me, it's my character. It's like, no, that's not how that should work. It can work that way. Your character can be a dick, as Cody was saying, but like that shouldn't be your character all the time to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, like, I mean, even I know we talk about like the Lord of the Rings and stuff all the time, but like, you could do it for any, movie, any book, or whatever. You can take a character and you can look at, you know, let's say Aragorn, right? Aragorn is the king of Gondor and Arnor. He's supposed to be the king, right? Mm-hmm. But he lives most of his life not knowing this fact, or not most of his life, but he lives the beginning of his life not knowing this fact. And then the challenge is, are you going to continue the precedent of your forefathers of hiding out in the woods and fighting evil in this guerrilla form? Or are you going to rise up and take your place as the king? And there's multiple people that question him throughout that whole journey. And there's a lot of people that believe, men are worthless, that men are not going to be able to step up and avoid evil and confront evil. Aragorn, when he encounters Theoden, Theoden is kind of has flaws because Theoden is very stubborn.
Yep.
He's a good king. He's a good leader, but he's stubborn. And Aragorn has to kind of show him a little bit about being a king, even though Aragorn's not the king.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's interesting to, like, those are the types of things that you can do, like, where it's like he has this massive, this anxiety about who he is, about his identity, and about his fate. Is he going to be able to become who he's supposed to be, or is he going to be like all the others who have failed?
Yeah.
And that could be something that's always in the back of your character's mind and always driving your actions. Or, that's the kind of thing that I'm thinking about,
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
No, I get exactly what you're saying, because it's no different that when you're making your character, you should talk to your overlord, figure out, hey, what's the baseline of the plot, what's going on in this world that I'm about to play in. Just your session 0 normal talks, make your flaws equivalent to what's going on in the world around you. You know what I mean? Make it so it meshes, because it's going to help push your flaws, and your flaws are going to help push the world. They're very tied to each other. Most of the flaws is what go ahead.
Well, even something simple is like, okay, the nation you're in is in a civil war, and it's been in a civil war for a long time, and everybody's either east or west, right? And your character adamantly decides to not be a part of either of those things. That could be considered a flaw because you don't have the resources of either side now.
Yeah. I mean, in Teleraxia, my character doesn't come from either side. They come from a whole other world, and that's part of like a flaw that I see in that character is that they have no stakes. They have no understanding of this world, so they kind of don't really know what's going on, and that's kind of led to them being kind of like just there, and not really interacting with the world or like knowing, because they don't know what's going on, and like they're with this party that's been all over the place and has all these connections, and my character's just like, okay, I'm here too, I guess.
Yeah,
but
your character, because of that, is almost behind the 8 ball a little bit because of that flaw, because of that capability.
And that's barely even a flaw. That's not even like a character flaw. That's like a flaw of like, because of where they show up in the story and where they existed, because it's like they came in halfway into the campaign, and the party's been doing all this stuff.
Hey, we don't know if it's halfway. We've been playing this for a while.
It
could go for 20 years.
It was level 8. It was level 8.
Levels don't mean anything, Steve. We've been level 11 for years.
We just hey, we just leveled up, okay?
No, we are
level 12.
I need more levels up. I need to get to that 20, baby.
Yeah.
But no, that's go ahead, Neil.
So like, even so, here you have a character who has not been a part of either side, kind of casted away. My character, when we originally started, had no ties strictly went against both the sides because he thought both the sides were wrong. That's not the way to do it. We just need to end this because it's causing the whole area to suffer. So here we when my character at the beginning interacted with anything, and this was a huge flaw, and it still is a huge flaw to my character because of the way he has seen the world, he has started to see it very black and white, and lately it's become more gray. But in the beginning, it was either you do this or you do this. There's no in between, and in a lot of the encounters he had with a lot of the NPCs in the world, with that mindset, it was beneficial for some because some needed to hear that, but then it was also very not beneficial for others. And now there are certain enemies that have came back that weren't originally enemies. They had no ties, but now my character's risen to power. They're doing certain things, and they'll remember, hey, that person told me to fuck off once. I don't like that person.
So your character's mindset initially was either they're a good, perfect, amazing person, or they're a filthy, disgusting dragonborn. And there was no.
Don't put that out there. This is ridiculous. That dragonborn had things to hide, and nobody in the party could find out what it was.
He did hide things. He just wasn't a bad
guy. Nope, he was evil. Yet to be seen. We'll find out in Act 5.
Yeah, we'll find out eventually. Yeah.
But it allows,
when we're finally level 13.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, year 8 of the campaign.
It has been a long struggle, but here you have on paper two flaws that are pretty much the same. They have no affiliation with the war that's going on. Yes, mine was impacted by it and by the war and everything like that, where your character was kind of outside of the war, had no idea, really, no understanding of what was going on, and you came into it. That's on paper, it's two people who don't really, stand on either side of the war, but it's done different ways. Yeah. You can have the same flaw, but done different ways. You know what I mean? So, don't think just because one party member in your group has this flaw and you're like, man, I was going to really do something with that. You can't have that. Fuck it. Make a whole.
Get that flaw. I want that flaw.
I now have a session that I'm playing in where one of my friends asked me, they were like, I'm going to DM this whole thing. You're all from the same, you all have the same half father. Figure it out. Wait, what? Yeah, you have certain timelines that you could spend with your father, or your father was in your life, but you all have the same father, and there's this thing going on, and go from there. So we joke around that it's the daddy issues party. Everybody's got a little bit of daddy issues.
Yeah. Brother, how are you an elf when I am an orc?
Yeah.
I don't understand.
My character's half goblin.
Nice.
It's vastly crazy.
Love it. Love the gobs. One of my favorite flaws that I saw role played was our friend Frank, and he created this hedge knight for the first go round of my campaign of Toleraxia, and he created this hedge knight, and the hedge knight was a commoner who had become a landed knight through saving,
hero, right, or something like that.
Yeah, through saving. He basically was a part of a militia that fought against an ogre and defeated the ogres, and he was the only guy that came back. He was the only guy that survived. So he became a landed knight, and or a hedge knight, whatever you want to call it. So basically a knight without the nobility.
Mm-hmm.
And he picked the folk hero background, and he played himself as just a soldier. He had a sword, he had armor, he had a horse, a lance. He was a knight. Now, when he started getting out from his town and he started exploring with the party and he started encountering magic and monsters and things like that, it blew his mind. And there were times where people were doing magic either next to him or towards him, like to boost him or heal him with it. And he took offense because he was like, I don't trust it. He was afraid of magic.
Yeah.
And he played up that flaw that I come from a common background. Magic is not a thing. I don't trust it. It's inherently bad.
Yeah, not today, Warlock.
Yeah. And there were so many times where like he had been hurt or something, and like people wanted to offer to heal him, and he was like, "Don't touch me, don't touch me with your magic. Like I don't want it."
Yeah,
and that was an interesting flaw because it's not something that breaks the game, but it was something that the party had to work around.
Yeah, it's a hindrance,
or that he even had to work around.
Yep.
You know. So that's the kind of stuff that I think we're talking about when we're saying, flaws in your game or just flaws for your story.
Oh yeah.
Even just for writing a story. I think having at least something that bothers the character is important,
Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. If I'm playing a game and I run across somebody who seems to be perfect, I don't trust that person. That person has, the deepest, darkest secrets. They're like sacrificing orphans in the back. I don't like you.
Yeah.
Yep. But that's just kind of how it is. I'm sure we could continue to talk about this for much more time, but we'll save your ears for now. If you do like it, make sure to let us know below. Like, comment what you think. Maybe tell us some good flaws that you've played as your characters, or you've seen played at your table. That at first maybe it was like, oh man, this guy's really annoying, and then down the line you're like, it was an integral part to the party where you were like, nah, we can't go without this person. They're a guy or a gal, so.
Well, I think it was even fun, not to get real off topic when we're trying to wrap up, but it was fun in that Curse of Strahd game where my character, one of our last sessions, my character did something that cost an NPC its life.
Oh yeah.
And my character is a neutral evil character that's just really out for their own revenge and gain.
Yeah.
And the other two members of the party were like, what the hell? Like, they were so mad that I had done this. And Neil was the DM, and Neil was like, that's the character. That's the character since day one.
Yeah, they were getting all pissed.
You just happened to see what he did.
Yeah, they were getting all pissed, but I was like, even after that, like, you guys noticed some sketchy shit all the time prior to that. Yeah, you didn't notice.
Yeah, that character's always doing weird shit.
They're always experimenting with something. They're always looking over there. Yeah. They're always collecting
blood from monsters.
And then I was like, but this is the line. This is it.
Yeah, this is the one that did it. Yep.
But good stories like that. Let us know in the comments. As always, check out our website, go through our monsters. We almost have 50 plus monsters up now. Close to around, I think it was 30 plus magic items, and almost the same amount of spells, I want to say, as magic items. I think a little bit less. But they're all out there. There's stuff you can find out. We have great artists working for us. If you are listening, are an artist, send us an email saying what your prices are. We're trying to, on anything we create, we try and look for some outsourced art. This way, we give back to the community in another way, because man, I remember seeing some of the art on like all the old Dungeons and Dragons books and being like, "Oh, that's fucking badass. That's what's up." So even
I think we're going to be very happy. I think everyone's going to be very happy with our book when it's done.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
We put a lot of effort into it, and we've gotten a lot of skilled individuals that have been helping us.
Oh yeah.
And we got some cool monsters and things coming up. So
definitely keep an eye out.
All right, Bone Ponies.
But yeah, I think that's about it. Any last statements?
Flaws are cool. let us know some of your cool flaws in the comments below. And
flaws are cool.
They're cool, man.
Just trying to wrangle them ponies back on topic and close this out.
Bone ponies are prone to wander.
Very prone.
That's right.
Ain't nothing freer than a bone pony.
Yeah, you can't.
That's right.
You can't bring a bone
Teddy
pony.
Roosevelt said that.
Yeah.
Teddy Roosevelt, nothing freer than a bone pony.
That's right, man.
That's quoted. You can look that up. That's in the history books.
Yeah.
It is. It is.
It's right
I've seen them.
Yep.
I have a history degree. I know. I read all of them.
I have a history degree specifically in bone ponyology.
Yes, I am a bone ponologist.
All right, folks. We'll catch you next time. Thanks for stopping in.
Later, guys.
Yeah.